Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. I'm your host, Curtis Smith. I can't believe this is already our fourth show, and we wouldn't be here without the tremendous support of our friends at WHMB TV 40, but also the connection to our community partners. A huge thank you to Prime 47 Downtown, Shepherd Community Center, and Tesco. Tonight, we don't get to simply thank our partners, we get to introduce you to two of them. The organizations who use Crosswinds Corporate Counseling are doing phenomenal work in Indianapolis, but they also have the kind of compassion for their employees that we love to see, truly investing into people. And sometimes, as you will see tonight, it may be in organizations that you don't think of when you think of good mental health. Lisa Lenzke is with us right now. She's from Prime 47 Downtown, the general manager there. And Lisa, yours is one of those organizations, and this is what I mean. A lot of us go to a restaurant and we don't think of it as a company or an organization. We don't think of it as someone who needs to take care of their employees. We're simply there to eat and to consume and thinking about ourselves, and we don't think about you oftentimes in that role. So I want to talk about that, but first I want to just get kind of an overview of Prime 47 Downtown. Tell us about your restaurant. Absolutely.
So Prime 47 Downtown is a locally owned, independent steakhouse. We've been on the downtown there since 2003. There's actually a handful of us that have been here that entire 18 years, and it's amazing.
Wow.
But that comes with taking care of your employees and your staff and your people. It's amazing downtown events, Pacer games, Colts games, conventions, and then your Friday, Saturday night, date night, birthday parties.
Right.
It is the place to be, and we love to take care of our guests, and it shows. And that's what keeps people coming back to Prime 47.
Yeah, I'm geeking out a little bit because, and my team will tell you this, I love ice cream. Ice cream is pretty much my favorite food, except for one thing.
What's that?
Steak. There is no better food in the world than a well done, and I don't mean well done, I mean a steak done well. What is it about Prime 47 Downtown that makes you such an incredible steakhouse? Because I've had dinner there and it's just been fantastic. What is it that goes into making a great steakhouse?
So first of all, you just have to start with the best meat available. We work with Purely Meat Company out of Chicago. We do serve USDA Prime, which is going to be that top 2% of beef in the country. So there alone, you just start with the right product. On top of that, we also have the Japanese Wagyu. We also have Australian Wagyu. So we're getting the best product available. And then on top of that, Chef Brandon, Daniel, Felipe on Grill, Christina, they are the ones that make the magic happen. Their love for what they do and in that steak, in those salads, in the mashed potatoes. It's that heart, it's that soul in that makes the food terrific.
Yeah, tell me about that real quick. And already I'm having trouble. My mouth is watering so much I'm going to have trouble with this interview. But there's just kind of a traditional steak, potatoes, salad. People know what they want. How do you branch out? How do you keep that menu fresh? How do you do things that appeal to customers who don't simply want steak, potatoes, salad, glass of wine?
You know what? You just start changing it up a little bit. We change our menu about quarterly, small tweaks. Our filet is always going to be our filet.
Right.
It's always going to have our house seasoning on it.
Don't mess with that.
It's perfection.
Right.
But if you want to try something new, we have different enhancements. You can get a creamy, spicy crab topping on it, your classic crab Oscar, a horseradish blue cheese crust. You know, so if you want to start to branch out a little bit, you can. But you can also just make small tweaks to the menu. So we rolled out our fall menu now. And our pork chop, which was a staple, over mashed potatoes, peppercorn gravy, we decided to do a cedar brined pork chop over sweet potato mash, topped with a sage brown butter. It's incredible. And that's where you start to get people to give this a try. It's mouth-watering.
Right.
Maybe I won't have a steak. I'll try a pork chop tonight.
I'm starting to think this interview was a mistake.
Is it lunch yet?
I need another meal right now, that's for sure. Lisa, let's take a serious turn, though, and talk about your restaurant as an organization and the fact that you are there with your employees, real people going through the same pandemic that the rest of us are going through, dealing with the same stuff in life that all of us are. Why is taking care of them so important to you? Because not every business, not every organization has that mindset. How have you done it, and why is it so important to you?
Without our people, without our staff, we'd be nothing. We would not exist as a company, as a restaurant, as an experience for guests to come and enjoy. So these are the staff members that, for whether they were hired on at months by May or March of 2020, or had been with us for 15, 16 years, they're the ones that make it happen. So it is so important to make sure that we are able to give back to them everything they put into the restaurant. It comes full circle. So whether it was, okay, you know what, the restaurant is closed, but we're doing takeout for 2 days a week, come on in, sign in, we'll pay you an hourly rate. We had people painting, extra details in the gold paint in the building, just to give them something to do as a way to make the money, to make sure they were taken care of until the unemployment and everything else came through, because we did not want to leave them abandoned, stranded. We set up a food pantry, essentially, because we were expecting a huge weekend with the Big Ten men's tournament, and it got canceled on Thursday.
Right.
So we're sitting on all this food. So we literally just set up a pantry. Come on through, grab a bag of produce.
Wow.
Buy some meat, grab some meat, because that product, instead of it just going bad, let's give it to our staff. Let's give it to our people, because we didn't know how long anything was going to last.
Right.
And then it was, I want to say, about 6 months into the pandemic, so after the restaurant had reopened, you realize how hard mentally it was to come into work and to battle every day with changing situations, as far as you can only be open for outdoor dining. Everything needs to be 6 feet apart, masks, gloves, overly sanitizing and washing your hands, because you just didn't know what was happening. And that's when we joined with Crosswinds Counseling.
So tell me about that partnership with Crosswinds Counseling. What has that meant to you as a restaurant and to your employees as they have gone through all of those things that all of us have been dealing with?
It really is incredible. There is not another restaurant that I can think of, certainly that any of our employees have worked for, that I believe offer a solution like Crosswinds. Just the text messages I'd get on the side as, thank you so much, dealing with, it's the restaurant industry. You're going to have people with addictive personalities. So whether it's, I can't get out of bed today, I'm depressed, whether it's maybe getting a little too far into a bottle, anniversaries of losing family members, whether it's to COVID or not, it is an outlet, it is a support system, and it just provides them an opportunity to get the help they need, instead of everyone just talking amongst themselves and thinking that they have an answer. Let's talk to a professional.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And Lisa, we thank you so much for partnering with Crosswinds, but for investing into your people, for treating them like real people. That is, unfortunately, still fairly unique in the world. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for getting our mouths watered tonight. Prime 47 downtown, one of the great restaurants really in the United States, a fabulous steakhouse. Lisa, we thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
And we will be right back.
Shepherd works with both the first and second generation to break the cycle of poverty. It's a two-gen approach to say we want to help the parents and the students to help them have the tools for them to break the cycle of poverty.
You know, it's easy to think programs make a difference, but we know from 35 years of experience, relationships is effective.
In this world, we don't need more programs. We need to know that more people care for us.
Tonight, we've discussed the impact of mental health services and partnerships at Prime 47 downtown. And in just a moment, we're going to hear from another Indianapolis company who we partner with at Crosswinds Counseling in this critical work. In fact, nearly 50 companies, some all over the United States, are using Crosswinds Counseling for corporate counseling. And it may make sense for your organization to be the next one to join us. If you would like to learn more about how your company can become part of the Crosswinds Counseling family of corporate counseling partners, here's the website to visit. You see it right now on your screen, crosswindscounseling.org/CCC, crosswindscounseling.org/CCC. And joining us right now is Mark Bowell. Mark Bowell is one of the most connected people in Indianapolis. Mark, I think you know every single person in Marion County. Oh, wow. Wears many hats. We want to talk about two of them. Sure. One is with our great partner, Tesco, and
Absolutely.
Another with Crosswinds Counseling. Let's start with Tesco. Tell us a little bit about Tesco and why partnering with Crosswinds Counseling was so important.
I'd be happy to, Curtis. Tesco is a company, actually two organizations that one my wife founded back in 2004, focusing on the construction industry. We provide solutions with equipment and supply chain, and so we've been doing that now for nearly 20 years. It's a women business enterprise. And then back in 2014, we saw through our relationship development that there was a need in some places for, again, the same unique element of women business enterprise in the world of engineering. So we formed a company, Total Engineering Solutions, and again, branded as Tesco. And we work in the areas of water and wastewater design. We do civil site design. We do surveying, land staking. We have a wonderful team there of professionals that work throughout the state of Indiana. We're licensed there. Our mothership, Tesco Total Energy Solutions, we work literally throughout the country providing solutions for our partners in the construction space. So that's what we do. We're blessed to have family businesses, and those family businesses have taken on the complexion of really supporting great causes and organizations throughout not only central Indiana, but throughout the state, and that's how we're here to help support Crosswinds Counseling.
That's awesome. And Mark, one of the other hats you wear is with Crosswinds Counseling
absolutely.
as the Chief Growth Officer. Tell me a little bit about your role with Crosswinds Counseling, what you do and where you're leading the organization.
Well, I'm honored to do it. You know, my connection goes way back to our CEO, Mark Terrell, and he and I were classmates at Taylor, and we've maintained a strong relationship our entire adult life. So about a year ago, actually, Mark came and said, hey, I'd like for you to help us look at how we grow, first and foremost here in the state of Indiana, and look at relationships. So my responsibilities, I had worked for a couple of years already with Lifeline and Lasting Change in terms of working with government affairs and bringing together kind of connectivity of elected officers here in the greater Indianapolis area and throughout the state. So that's kind of how I cut my teeth. And interestingly enough, I had actually done some work back in the early 2000s with Lifeline many years ago when we launched our initiative in terms of our school programs where we were doing these thinking programs in classrooms. So I had done some work 20-some years ago, and now here I am nearly 20 years later working in the area of growth. So our focus is looking at, right now in particular here in central Indiana, and of course this program, Restoring Hope, is a great tool to help us hopefully grow some more and bring some folks in.
It is, letting people know in Indianapolis all about Crosswinds Counseling. Mark, you mentioned the government officials, and last week we had the privilege of sitting down with Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. You are extremely connected to legislators here in Indianapolis and really all over the state. Being connected to them, being a voice to them, getting them to understand the state of mental health need and mental health services in our state is just vital. From your perspective, what are those relationships like? What do they like to build, and what are you hoping to yield as we get more and more connected to our legislators?
That's a great question. I mean, I think, you know, we look at our government elected officials and we just assume that they understand what's going on in the community. And I think one of the things that we've been able to do, Mark and I, shoulder to shoulder, along with our good partners at Barnes and Thornburg, looking at trying to put a face on what's happening in our communities across the state. And I think one of the unique things about what we're doing both at Lifeline across the entire state and then within our Crosswinds Counseling areas of service is really understanding where the pain is. I really truly believe that the next major pandemic, it's here already, and it is mental health. And so our ability to really bring to light what's happening in the communities across the state, engaging our legislators to try, they're aware, but really to try and bring things to life that we're dealing with in a major way. And then also helping them understand the funding streams, which is really where they're plugged in, how to strengthen dollars to directly go back to those people that are doing the work in the trenches, which is what our two companies, Lifeline and of course Crosswinds, were doing.
Yeah. And so do they more and more understand the unique position they're in to help? Because they can craft so many things that truly do move the needle. When you connect with them, when you spell that out for them, are you seeing that they truly do get it and we're not just assuming any longer that they know what's going on in the community?
I do believe that. I think, whatever side of the aisle our elected office holders sit on, I believe most of these folks have tremendous awareness of what's happening in terms of mental health. As you mentioned, Lieutenant Governor Crouch, her passion for what's going on in mental health is evident. And I think we're going to begin to see more and more efforts that are going to take place to try and make that level of connectivity, not just from the concept of mental health, but really practical ways to kick the stigma, to bring people into a place of restoration, into a place of help, and ultimately hope.
Mark, I know from knowing you a little bit that you're passionate about this work. It means a lot to you on a personal level, and typically that is the case for anyone who works in this lane.
Yeah.
Why is it so important to you that you do move the needle in this area of society?
Well, and thanks for asking. It's personal for me. We've, over the last really 8 years, I had a son that got diagnosed with glioblastoma back in 2013. We lost him in 2017. Courageous battle. And I'm a firsthand person that even still to this day continue to struggle with my own issues as it relates to dealing with that, dealing with death, dealing with the byproducts of really not getting help when I should have got help. And so, when I say I work in the mental health world, I recognize that it's legitimate to me. It's a place where I know that I have my daily struggles. And I'm thankful that not only do I have the power of my relationship with God, but I also can call on really caring and skilled individuals that can help me through the journey. And for that, I'm blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Mark, more and more we know that need is out there. We know that everyone has their unique journey, their own story, and so many people need mental health services. As we continue to grow in the Indianapolis market and we partner with more organizations, how can people reach out to us? How can they connect with Crosswinds Counseling to take those next steps?
Well, I can tell you one thing that has been extraordinary. As we have just really jumped into central Indiana in the last year, these are the levels of partnerships where people are saying we need a hand. And we need a hand at Crosswinds. We need people. Yeah. And I know that's part of the reason why we're doing this show. So I encourage folks that want to help to get involved with Crosswinds. If you have a counseling background, we need folks. And more importantly then, just folks to engage. Yeah. We'll continue to build partnerships across central Indiana, throughout the state, and good Lord willing, across the country as more and more people have the need. We hope to be there.
Yeah, it's an exciting future for a great organization. Mark Bowell from Tesco and Crosswinds Counseling, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Curtis.
We will be right back.
In the heart of downtown Indy, at the corner of Pennsylvania and Maryland Streets, it's Prime 47, the city's only independent, locally owned and operated steakhouse, offering gourmet dishes, the highest quality steaks, fresh seafood, and an extensive wine list. Prime 47 specializes in large parties and events. So, whether it's dinner for 2 or 200, it's prime time you visit Prime 47, Indy's Steakhouse, for the finest in dining.
Every week, we hear from an executive at Crosswinds Counseling on the topic of hope. We all need it. Tonight, in our Beacon of Hope segment, Gordon Haynes, the Director of Culture and Faith at Crosswinds Counseling, examines the need for hope through one of life's biggest challenges and blessings any of us will ever face: parenting.
Hi, my name is Gordon Haynes, and I'm going to bring you a message of hope today. In today's world, it's hard to be a parent. There are lots of distractions for parents and for kids, with social media, with the internet, with everything that's available to distract us. It's hard to stay focused and be consistent in how we parent and how we lead our children. And sometimes our children are defiant. And when they are, how do we as parents react to that, and what do we do? Well, you know, there's a model for us. In Luke chapter 15 in the Bible, we find the parable of the prodigal son. In that parable, there's a son that no longer wants to follow his father's rules. He doesn't want to follow the norms of society. And basically, the father lets him go, gives him his inheritance, and the son goes off and lives a life very different from what he'd known. When the son realized that the life he was leading wasn't good for him, he basically came home and asked his father, "Will you take me back? Just let me be a servant, because your servants live a better life than I live today." And the father willingly took him back, not as a servant, but as a full-fledged son. He showed him unconditional love. What are the lessons from that story? One, you have a son that was defiant. And how many of us have had children that are defiant? All of us. Two, you had a father that understood what the son was doing and yet still loved him, was still patient, was still kind, but let the child learn the hard lesson. What a story of hope. The fact that God lets us live our lives and yet still loves us, even when we do things that he doesn't like. And that's the hope that we have for our children. As parents, we have a powerful tool, and that's prayer. We should be praying for our children and praying that God can influence them and that God gives them hope and lets them know that we love them no matter what. Our role at Crosswinds is to change hearts and bring hope to individuals, families, and communities. We can help you with your children and with your faith find that path back when you have a child that has gone astray.
Like being a parent, a good marriage is also one of God's greatest blessings. In fact, marriage is the picture of our relationship to Jesus as the bride of Christ. Of course, marriage is hard work, and building a good one can be one of the most challenging things we do. In our counseling corner this evening, we meet Phil Erickson, a counselor from Crosswinds Counseling. Phil reminds us how important it is to work on our marriage.
Hi, my name is Phil Erickson, and I'm a licensed therapist at Crosswinds Counseling. I'm here to tell you about my biggest passion as a therapist, and that is doing marriage counseling. Now, some of you may ask, why marriage? Why help people rebuild their marriage? Well, it's because I love seeing happy marriages. You know, more often than not, when marriages start to crumble or derail, it's because they forget the fundamentals. They forget the things that got them to get married. Usually when people get married, when they say those I do's, they love each other. There's passion, there's joy, there's excitement for the future together. But they sometimes, especially over time, forget those things. And it's easy, it's understandable why that can happen. But in therapy, I try to help rebuild that trust and passion that they have for each other so that they're excited and able to love in their marriage again. I try to remind them of the good times and the good memories that they have, also the things that they've succeeded at, instead of just pointing out the stuff and the areas where they're failing. Okay? Now, if you're out there wondering if counseling or marriage counseling is right for you, I recommend that you don't hesitate. Therapy is best done preventative and not reactionary, meaning instead of waiting for things to get to a explosion point where things are just really pressing and really difficult, it's easier to work on things one at a time. So instead of waiting, it's better just to come in, and we have a lot of people here at Crosswinds Counseling that would love to provide some encouragement and hope for whatever thing that you're going through.
Shepherd works with both the first and second generation to break the cycle of poverty. It's a two-gen approach to say we want to help the parents and the students to help them have the tools for them to break the cycle of poverty.
You know, it's easy to think programs make a difference, but we know from 35 years of experience, relationships is effective.
In this world, we don't need more programs. We need to know that more people care for us.
In the heart of downtown Indy, at the corner of Pennsylvania and Maryland Streets, it's Prime 47, the city's only independent, locally owned and operated steakhouse, offering gourmet dishes, the highest quality steaks, fresh seafood, and an extensive wine list. Prime 47 specializes in large parties and events. So, whether it's dinner for 2 or 200, it's prime time you visit Prime 47, Indy's Steakhouse, for the finest in dining.
Tonight, we've seen the impact of great counseling on companies right here in Indianapolis. Maybe you've heard these messages and you haven't thought about how you need to get help yourself. Rather, you've been moved to think about how you could help others in a powerful way. If you are a counselor, therapist, or mental health provider, and you would like to pursue a career with Crosswinds Counseling, we are looking for great women and men to invest into the lives of people and make a real difference. There are job openings in other fields too. If you would like to join Crosswinds Counseling, you can visit this website, crosswindscounseling.org/careers, crosswindscounseling.org/careers to see the career opportunities at Crosswinds. If you know of people who are looking for work in this field, please let them know about Crosswinds Counseling. Right now, we have a tremendous need for people to join us in this impactful work of bringing hope to people. Thank you for joining us tonight for Restoring Hope with Crosswinds Counseling. It has been a pleasure to chat with both Lisa and Mark tonight. And of course, it's always an honor to spend time with all of you. We're going to be back each Thursday evening at 9:30. Next week, we'll continue to discuss issues impacting people here in Indianapolis and all over our state. And we will do it through the lens of Crosswinds Counseling, a company dedicated to bringing hope as we reclaim, restore, rebuild the family. Thank you for joining us in these crucial conversations tonight. We'll see you right here next Thursday night at 9:30 on WHMB TV 40. Have a great night, a wonderful week. Be blessed and stay safe. Good night, everybody.